I've known for weeks, actually, that I wanted to speak on this topic of radical aliveness. And so, ironically, the day that it came, the week that it came, at the beginning of the week when I started working on this, I had like the worst cold, like canceled everything, flat on my back, just horrible, horrible cold, feeling so far removed from radical aliveness. Ironically. But interestingly, when I started working on it, I started connecting with that sense of aliveness within me. And I promise you, after 3 days, that fourth day, I woke up and it was completely not even a trace, completely gone. So there is something to this. There is indeed. Now, a lot of times when we think about radical aliveness, we think of we associate it with peak experiences. Those experiences in our lives that really stand out in our minds because we were so completely, totally alive. That we were fully present, fully there, like maybe the day we graduated, high school or college or grad school, or the day that we started our dream job, or the day that we opened our doors in our new business, or our wedding day, or the day our child was born. Can you think of any other experiences, peak experiences like that, where you just will never forget that moment?
Your first puppy.
Okay, your first puppy. That is quite a special day. When you connect with a special pet. Absolutely. Absolutely. The day your grandmother passed was very meaningful for you. Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I had a similar thing when my mother passed. I remember every moment of that day. Yeah.
The day I flew an airplane by myself.
Oh.
Here alone.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah, I can imagine. So we've all had at least one of these experiences, something like that. So I would ask you to just bring that to your mind. Think about that for a moment. See if you can recreate how you felt that day. Was your heart so expansive, so wide open, and love was flowing abundantly? Did you feel like, all your circuits were open and joy was flowing abundantly? I'll bet that you were present in every moment, really fully present in every moment of that. Maybe it's something that you worked really hard for, that you applied your talents, your skills, some that you didn't even know you had. Maybe this was a time that you felt, I was born for this moment. You really connected with a sense of purpose. Those moments are seared into our memories for good reason, because we are fully, completely, totally, radically alive. So, what if we could experience that kind of peak experience feeling every day? I think we can. And we're going to explore today how to do that. So I think the place to start is by first understanding what life itself is. What life is. And I'm not talking about human life or physical life here, that changeable, temporary. You're born and you die, flowers blossom, plants bear fruit, and then it withers and dies. It's temporary. I'm talking about the force that is behind that energy, that essence, that intelligence, that creative intelligence, that radiance and vibration, that I like to call it life, love, intelligence, fundamental essence. The love, intelligence, fundamental essence from which all creation comes forth. That energy, we could call that God energy. We can call it divine creative energy, source energy, love, intelligence, whatever we call it. That is truly our essence. That's who we are in essence. It is our vital essence. And when we understand that, the more we understand and can connect with that source, the more that we're plugged in, the more that our circuits are open, the more that that vitality and that vibrancy can flow through and as our lives. So how do we do that? How do we connect with that source?
Being sensual.
Being what?
Sensual.
Oh, I'm getting there. You're way ahead of me, girl. Keep that in mind. Make a little note. Yeah, there are certain qualities of this vibrant life essence that when we understand what they are and when we can access them, we can allow that essence to vibrate within us, to flow through us. We more easily access that radical sense of aliveness. And the first quality that I believe of this vibrant life essence is joy. It's joy. Joy. When we're connected with joy, we're connected with source energy because source energy is joy. And I'm referring to the kind of joy that is without opposite. This is not joy that's the opposite of sorrow. It's not conditional. It's not it's not the result of some experience that we've had. True joy is connected to our heart. It is pure love energy. It is a love of life, a zest for living. Zest, closely related to zeal. Zeal is one of those 12 powers that Charles Fillmore has identified. He's identified that we have 12 power centers within us, energy centers within us, that are access points to our spiritual power. And zeal is one of them. It's located right here at the top of the spine, the base of the head. And when we focus on allowing that to open, it's the expression of love energy, the expression of zest for living. In fact, Charles Fillmore said about zeal, the power of zeal is being the great universal force that impels humankind to spring forth in a field of endeavor and accomplish the seeming miraculous. Sounds like a good definition for radical aliveness to me. Another key to accessing radical aliveness is what you said, gratitude. Absolutely, gratitude. Cultivating gratitude. When we are in a state of gratitude, when we are open to being fully attentive to the beauty in nature and all of the blessings in our lives, that we open to that flow of love and joy and life energy. We're also fully present. When we are practicing gratitude, we're fully present in that moment. We're fully noticing, fully attentive, fully engaged in that moment when we are grateful. So, building a state of gratitude. I'm talking about a state of gratitude. That takes practice. And that is a daily practice of what I call proactive gratitude. The practice of proactive gratitude, where we search for and we find and then we celebrate all of the blessings in our lives. And they could be little tiny things, I just took a breath, to huge things, those peak experience moments in our life, and everything in between. So a daily practice, every day, several times a day, just stop, take a breath. Wow, what's fabulous in my life right now? It may be difficult to see, but if I keep searching for it, I'll find it. When I find it, I'm going to celebrate that thing. That's going to be part of who I am. So that's building a state of gratitude. Another key to experiencing radical aliveness is when we're working with a natural harmony of things, the harmony of the divine order of things. There is a natural rhythm to life. You know, we can see that reflected in the change of the seasons. We can see it in the ebb and flow of the tides. We can see it the migration of the birds, just the cycle of life. There is a rhythm to life. And I never really fully understood that until I moved here. I mean, I grew up in Southern California where didn't seem to be any kind of rhythm. I mean, it was all the one thing, all the same. But when I came here, I finally got that there was a rhythm of things. And it's really wise to understand that and respect it and to be in harmony with it. When we are in harmony with that divine rhythm, that natural rhythm of that divine spirit within us, life just becomes easier. It's just easier. We don't have to struggle so much when we're in alignment with that. And that energy begins to flow a little easier. And aliveness, that sense of aliveness. And you know, you can even experience radical aliveness while you're resting. Yes, you doubt me. I'll tell you how. Have you ever had the experience of laying in a hammock on a beautiful beach somewhere? And if you haven't had that experience, imagine it with me. Use the power of your imagination and just sort of go on a little journey with me. All right? You're finding this wonderful hammock. You're lying in this beautiful, it's so comfortable, it's supporting every part of your body. You feel this gentle, soft, warm breeze caressing your skin. You're hearing the ocean, the waves and the ocean in the distance. Maybe you're hearing birds, the sweet singing of tropical birds around you. Maybe you're smelling the aroma of blossoms, plumeria blossoms, gardenia, something really sweet and beautiful. And all of the stresses of the world are so far away. You are so completely relaxed and fully present, and life is good. Okay. Open your eyes. Feel pretty alive. And if you can use this. This power of your imagination, of visualization. The next time you have a rest period, use that. Just kind of go through the five senses. And I promise you, you will, when you return to activity, you will be refreshed and re-energized, reinvigorated. Because you really made that rest period very meaningful. Okay. Another key to radical aliveness is to do what we can to be at the peak of our physical health. I mean, honestly, when we are at peak health, it's just plain easier to feel a sense of aliveness. It is. And not all of that is in our control. I get that. But a lot of it is. A lot of it is. We can choose, what we put in our bodies. Choosing foods that are alive, that feed our cells, that nourish our bodies. We can choose the thoughts that we want to entertain in our mind, our thinking. If we're thinking positive and empowering thoughts, that has a definite effect on our physical body. So really watching what you're allowing to, take root in your consciousness. Physical exercise, daily physical exercise is vital to our healthy functioning. And, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have time to exercise. And every time I hear that, I think about the sign that I see in my doctor's office. There's a little plaque there, and it's emblazoned in my memory because I wait a long time for the doctor to come in, so I have plenty of time to look at that sign. And that sign says, those who think they don't have time for daily exercise now will eventually have to make time to deal with illness later. I know, right? Kind of, ooh, that puts it in perspective. Ooh, okay. So when we combine healthy eating, plenty of exercise, positive, life-affirming thinking, and plenty of rest, we just open to more physical, that experience of life energy flowing in our physical beings, which makes it easier for us to open to radical aliveness. Just does. All right, so perhaps the largest contributing factor to the experience of radical aliveness is when we're living our vision, when we're living our purpose, when we are aligned with and expressing our true purpose. We're so connected with that flow of life energy, and it supports us miraculously. So I was watching this, a TED Talk this week, no surprise. I like to watch that, big fan. And this one was a Kenyan, a man from Kenya, young man by the name of Boniface Mwangi. And Mwangi grew up under the Moi dictatorship. And it was indeed a dictatorship. And he personally witnessed political corruption and violence. He personally saw bodies of people, men who had been killed for just questioning the leadership. He knew women that had been raped, families that were displaced, children abandoned. And he said that in his country, they teach children this code of silence, basically. Don't talk, don't mention anything, don't make waves. In fact, they have a term for it. It's called courage, smart courage. Or no, smart coward. Smart coward. And that's like a good thing. They teach it from day one. Obviously, parents are trying to keep their children safe, right? But Mwangi he questioned that, and he also loved photography. And he loved journalistic photography. And he began to document the atrocities that he was witnessing with his camera. And those images just didn't leave him. And after a while, he couldn't be silent anymore. And so what he did is he got together a group of friends, and they all agreed that they were going to show up at a governmental rally. This rally was going to happen in a large stadium, and when Moi got up to speak, they were all going to get up and speak out against the leadership and just say their truth, say what was happening in the country. And so the day arrived, and he showed up at the stadium, but none of his friends did. So he was alone. He was frightened. He didn't know what to do. But when Moi finally got up to speak, suddenly he couldn't hold it in any longer, and he rose to his feet, and he shouted to everyone the truth of what was happening. And of course, he was dragged from that stadium, beaten up, and thrown in jail. But that was the day he found his voice. And he said once he found his voice and other people heard him, they suddenly got the courage to also speak up. And more people were speaking up. And some of those people got together and they arranged for a photography exhibit, a traveling photography exhibit of these images so that everyone could see what was going on in the country. He said, there are two most important days in your life. The day you were born and the day you discover why you were born. that was the day he discovered why he was born. So I ask you, have you discovered why you were born? Do you know your true purpose? You know, one way to tell if you're living your purpose is, do you wake up in the morning, every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart? Somebody's got to sing that one of these days, please. It's so appropriate. You know, but do you get up and you're excited about going into life and doing what you've come here to do? Are you sharing your gifts and your talents and your abilities in service to others? And do you do it with a sense of love? Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard work. It doesn't mean that there won't be challenges. Definitely challenges. You know, sometimes you get to a place where you go, why am I doing this? But those are the moments of our highest growth. Those always are those moments that propel us into a new level of beingness, of awareness, of understanding, a new level of livingness. And we never have to walk through that alone. We got angels. We got angels that are helping us walk through those challenges. So, when we are able to connect with that inner divine spirit within us and allow that spirit to direct our path rather than the ego, that's when we experience our true purpose. And it's not always easy. The ego, boy, that has a loud voice. The ego thinks it knows what's important. It thinks it knows, you know, and it might keep us safe. It might know how to do that. It might know how to get our needs met. But it doesn't know how to live. And it knows nothing about radical aliveness. So it reminds me of that saying by Mayor Baba, where he says, it's characteristic of the ego to take everything that is unimportant as important and everything as important as unimportant. Isn't that so true of the ego? So when we're able to sort of let go of that ego and surrender to a higher truth, really let God lead the way. Lead the way. That's when we experience meaning and significance and purpose. And you always have a choice about what voice to listen to. We can listen to the voice of the ego. That's easy, right? Or we can commit to moments of silence, to being in the silence and the stillness and cultivating that voice of the divine spirit within us that knows that we were born for a magnificent purpose. The voice, that inner spirit within you knows you were born for a magnificent purpose. And when you understand that, when you become aware of that, and you live that, life is deeply meaningful and fulfilling and miraculous. And that is the experience of radical aliveness. There's a handout in your program that has some of these points, so you can take that home and remind yourself of these things and work on them and commit to a practice of that, so that we can all up-level our experience of radical aliveness. Namaste.